Our reading this morning comes from Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verses 15 to 20, as Moses addresses his people once again. Today I have set before you life and success, or death and disaster. For today I command you to love the Almighty your God, to follow God's ways and keep the commandments, the laws, and the customs. If you do, you will live and increase, and the Almighty your God will bless you in the land that you are entering to possess. But if your hearts stray, and you do not listen to me, if you let yourself be drawn into the worship of other gods and serve them, I tell you today, you will not survive. You will not live long in the land which you are now crossing the Jordan to enter and occupy. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today. I set before you life or death, blessing or curse. Choose life then, so that you and your descendants may live, by loving the Almighty your God, by obeying God's voice, and by clinging to the Almighty, for that will mean life for you, a long life in the land which God swore to give to your ancestors, Sarah and Abraham, Rebekah and Isaac, Leah and Rachel and Jacob. Thus ends the reading. Choose. Do any of you remember when turning on the TV, you'd find you had 3 stations to choose from: ABC, NBC, and CBS. And later came PBS, and then cable and HBO and Hulu and YouTube. And now if you want to watch TV via cable, you have to choose which of the packages of hundreds of channels that you want to pay for. Choose. Choose. Shopping. Not enough choices in a department store. Anyone remember Sibley's and McCurdy's, Penny's, or upscale B. Foreman? Maybe Macy's. Or window displays, the click of heels on the sidewalk going by to see. And now we click on millions of choices we have Googled, or things that Amazon algorithms think we might like. Choose. Choose your friends carefully, we may have heard from our parents, hoping for good influences on us. Now, hundreds of friends are suggested to us by the cold calculations of Facebook databanks. Choose. Part of the anxiety of this age is that we are forever making choices about little things that matter little. So we ignore choices that matter a lot. Life-giving choices. Choose life is what Moses tells his people in Deuteronomy 30, verse 19. Moses, the guy who put the dude in Deuteronomy. Moses, who led his people out of Egypt's slavery, who has been the conduit through whom God guides and feeds, who takes notes on God's 10 commandments with chisel and stone. Moses, who calls his people back from idol worship, and now, after generations in the Sinai desert, points them to the edge of a new promised homeland. And Moses here, at this moment, reminds his people that it all comes down to one choice, really. Choose life, says verse 20. And he says, choose life by loving the Almighty your God, by obeying God's voice, by clinging to God. Okay, that was the Israelites. That was about 3,500 years ago, scholars tell us, but there is something here that both calls to us and warns us. even here in this 21st century, and maybe especially now. Those words, choose life, echo down through the millennia to us. Maybe even through the millennials to us. I don't know. At least I know one millennial that it'll echo down through. But choose life are words that we who have seen and heard so much death lately sound like an invitation. You know, in our world with so many dizzying choices, it comes down to one central choice. Choose life. What about the myriad of choices that each day presents to each one of us? How do we choose? Well, the Ten Commandments, that's a good start, Moses. But the thou shalt nots, they only go so far. They only eliminate some choices. This morning we started with Jesus' new commandment to his followers, saying, love one another. That's an essential guide. And he was talking not about feel affection love, but do kindness, love one another love. That is how we choose life with people. Do kindness love. Wear a mask, for instance. People are affected personally by us. Yes. In the way we behave. People are also affected in ways that come through policy. We've been thinking a lot about how policy gets implemented and what policies get set lately because we're in a political season. Policy and politic are very closely related. You can't drive anywhere these days without seeing yard signs. One I saw recently just said, choose life. Wow, there's an echo from Deuteronomy. And I thought, choose life, yes. Choose to make sure that every child born has food and clothes and a warm bed, good education, safe housing, medical care, and equal rights no matter their color. And make sure that every potential parent can easily access contraception so that every child born is a child anticipated. Yes, choose life. So we must choose wise policymakers. Even now, like the people of Moses did, we ourselves stand on the edge of historic choices. The question is, will we choose life? Choosing life is honoring the fact that we are all connected, that all life is connected. Choices are connected. That's another takeaway from Moses and the Israelites, you know. As Jim Antel puts it in his book, Climate Church, Climate World, he says, quote, God set before them, not before this individual or that individual, but before all of them together, the choice of life or death, blessing or curse. Collectively, they needed to make a decision. And would they continue to follow other gods, as they had in the previous chapter, and thus bring about the devastation of the land God had given to God's people? Or would they choose life? By choosing life, not only would they live, but so would their descendants. In this way, Moses intensifies the choice that is set before that generation. He emphasizes that what they choose will forever impact future generations. Just like that wandering tribe of Israelites with Moses, who had together the task of choosing and then owning the consequences together. Today, together, we now have to choose. to own the consequences together. And you know, the consequences that come may not be as immediate as those Old Testament stories with divine retribution and the earth opening up or lightning or anything like that, but they will be no less dramatic in the end than life or death. Our choices matter. Antal goes on to point out that on November 4th, 2016, the Paris Climate Accord took effect. Both China and the United States were among the countries that signed on, and 4 days later, the United States, the second largest greenhouse gas emitter, had an election. And on June 1st, 2017, the newly elected President of the United States announced his intention to withdraw the United States from that Paris Climate Accord. And that withdrawal cannot take full effect, according to the contract, until November 4th, 2020, the day after the coming election. And I put before you that that was not a choice for life to withdraw. It was a choice for profit. Profit for a very few. And the cost borne by all, not just of this generation, but future generations as well. We will make big choices in the next week or so at the voting booth. In the end, we will all own those choices. Even if we vote differently, they are all of our choices. Our choices have consequences, and not only just for us. There will be long-lasting, multiplying consequences. We have to ask ourselves, what world are we leaving to our children and grandchildren? How will we treat today's children? Our democracy is a pretty fragile thing. So is life. Life is precious. Let us choose life. Amen.
Amen.